We want to go ahead and bring in Coach Ron Bellamy with the Lakers. Coach, this has to be terrible for your players. How did they take the news? And it must have been hard to deliver it to them.
Well, they delivered the news to me. Believe it or not, we were actually headed on the practice field, and one of our senior leaders, Jordan Hoskins, had said, "Coach, is this real?" And I said, "What?" He said, "The season just got postponed to the spring." And originally the date was August 20th to make that determination. So I told Jordan, I'm like, "No, I don't think so. Maybe someone out there, you know, assuming that we won't have a season until the spring." But one of my coaches has said, "Indeed, coach, this is coming live from the MHSAA website, Twitter page, that indeed that they postponed our season." So, the kids delivered the news to me, and we just kind of, I had to call them in and pretty much tell them, put their tennis shoes on. We talked for a few minutes, and we dismissed them from practice. And luckily for us, we had scheduled a pitcher day the next day, so we're able to kind of be more personal with the kids and let them know, what the news was. It was real, and what was our next move moving forward.
So, Coach, I don't think, was this a big surprise to you and your teammates, especially after the colleges started canceling their football seasons as well?
No, I think once the colleges canceled their season, I think it was, you saw the writing on the wall that it's almost like no way we can, although you don't compare high school to college, but we're in the same region as our MAC schools, Eastern, Central, Western, and you're looking at the U of M and MSU's, and they're moving to the spring, and inevitably you knew we were next. So as coaches, we try to do our best just to kind of keep that that happy spirit in our program. And for the 5 days that we had our kids doing training camp, we had a blast, learned a lot about each other, and we were, like I said, we're expecting to have at least 3 or 4 more days with our kids, but it was tough. It's tough watching your high school age kids you've known since middle school. You see these kids crying as they walk off the football field, and really there's nothing you could do for them. You try compassion, but in the eyes of some of the kids, that was their last time ever wearing a Lakers uniform.
So, Coach Bellamy, Lakers football coach, here with us on the Oakland County MegaCast. You went to college on a scholarship, so you understand that it's not just the sport, but for some of these students, it's about their future. How are you trying to address that topic with some of your students?
Yeah, we're letting the kids know, it's you got to keep your head up, the eyes on the eyes on the prize. There's still a lot of work to be done. As far as our seniors go, we're trying to get some of our kids who have scholarship opportunities. They're making their decisions within the next week. Donovan Edwards, who's one of our highest rated recruit. Um, he's probably going to take his time to be a little bit more diligent, but I want the other kids to kind of get off the board. It's almost like playing with house money. You just don't want to gamble on that opportunity to go to school for free. So we're trying to advise those guys to make that decision sooner rather than later. For the rest of the kids, we have to be very diligent, very intentional about how we showcase them. We're waiting on feedback from the MHSAA. What are they going to allow us to do with our kids in the spring? I'm sorry, in the fall. Are you going to give us 2 or 3 days a week that we can work with the kids? For us, it's normalcy. This is, these kids, we want the toughest thing about going back to start. This is the first time in their lives. This is the first time in my academic educational life that I'm remote, right? I'm not, I don't physically see the kids, and it's going to be tough, especially for student athletes. So we want to be able to at least make sure we can monitor them academically, mentally, socially. We want to make sure the kids are doing some things that is going to make sure that they have some success moving forward.
Coach Bellamy, a lot of these kids on your team are on the cusp of those scholarships, and you mentioned being very intentional about how you continue to present these kids that are on the cusp of those opportunities and aren't going to have a season ahead of them. You have a lot of really talented guys that are able to be showcased each and every year, seemingly out of the blue. Of course, not not, of course, that in that perspective for your team, you know your guys and you know you have the talent there. But in this case, with the season being suspended until spring, you'll have an opportunity with some of these kids to present their game in the spring season. But for a lot of them, they're looking to get those opportunities as soon as possible, and some even do an early enrollment in the spring. So how do you showcase those kids and their talents as they're that close to these opportunities but don't have a season in the fall?
Yeah, that's a great question, Tyler. The toughest part is if the NCAA indeed does keep the signing days as is, the first signing day is in December, the second signing day will be in February, and we wouldn't play football until March. So theoretically, our kids, all the scholarships would be gone before our kids even get a chance to step foot on the football field. So from a coach's perspective, how can you make sure that your kids get the same exposure and the same opportunities to showcase themselves? I want to say at this point, 35 states are playing football in the fall. So our kids are at a very huge competitive disadvantage where eyes will not be on them. So we have to figure something out. Myself and a few other coaches, we're trying to create different proposals and different things to, share with the MHSAA. Not sure if they're, accepted or not, but just creative things that we can, like I mentioned a minute ago, stay engaged with our kids and at the same time, continue to develop them so that we can still try to fight and try to help these kids earn scholarship opportunities.
So when you say you're working with them to try to come up with different proposals, what are some of those things? Could it be like, I know it's already pretty popular to do highlight reels with students, but that doesn't always showcase all of their talents. So what are you even thinking? Because this is the time to be creative, right? Think outside the box.
Yes. So for us, we are, all the kids do have highlight films, but like you just mentioned, that's not enough. So we have to create, different movement videos. Coaches want to see, okay, how well does a kid move in space? Is a kid, is a kid, has a kid grown? Are they bigger, faster, stronger? So we're doing a lot of different things to figure out, those type of things. Another possibility of us is, can you create a 707 league? To be quite honest with you, if we as coaches, if we don't have access to these kids, what happens is the coaches who run who run facilities, they're going to take over the kids, and Lord knows what happens if that indeed does happen.
Coach Ron Bellamy with the West Bloomfield High School Lakers. You're not just a football coach, you are also an educator. Talk a little bit about that, and what are you thinking that this fall is going to look like for you from that aspect?
It's going to look different. Coming into the building and, leading, me being in phys ed, weight training, just, giving the kids different workout videos and, having them work out virtually. That's going to be challenging within itself. We're going to need all hands on deck, and, you just got to be very creative. This whole summer, my district did a great job of kind of, notifying us what the plan was. So you're able to plan in advance. Fortunately, but unfortunately, we got a chance to kind of have a test pilot this past spring when we went away for a while. But, it's going to be different. The goal is just to keep the kids super engaged, continue to be that light for them, making sure that you have that relationship with them. That if anything, a lot of these kids are struggling. They struggled in the spring just being home. They lost the social aspect of things, and they're going to lose it again. Most parents are not. Right now, summertime, kids are able to go out and spend time with their family and friends and do things of that sort. But when school starts again, they're back on that structured schedule, and a lot of kids do better in person. So, as an educator, the goal is to make sure that we keep the kids engaged, make sure that they're still learning, and try to give them some type of normalcy, just to see some familiar faces. And my goal is to do different workouts across the school building, just so they can, a part of home for them is present with them at all times.
Coach Ron Bellamy with us, head coach of the West Bloomfield Lakers football team on our family of stations, including 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake, West Bloomfield, Keagle Harbor, Sylvan Lake, and 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills, a service of the Bloomfield Hills School District. So transitioning back to football with just another couple minutes or so left before we got to let you go, Coach. As you prepare for the spring and as your team prepares for the spring, with knowing that some guys are going to early enroll in college and may not be there, and knowing that it's going to look a lot different, balancing this sport with other spring sports such as lacrosse and track and field and so on, what do you imagine the football season looking like being in spring and being that it's definitely going to be different given the circumstances?
Yeah, I do not see us playing the full 9-game schedule like we're accustomed to. I do think there will be a reduction in the I think there'll be a reduction in the number of games you play. I think you're going to move forward. You know, you may shorten a play week or two. You know, it's 5 to win the state championship. Maybe you play 4 to get there. I do think the ultimate goal is to crown a champion. You know, you are going to lose some kids. You know, to various sports. I totally understand it, and I support the kids. You know, if you say, hey, coach, you know what, I'm a baseball player in the spring, or I'm a track and field athlete, although it's going to be 2 tiers of spring sports now that football and possibly boys soccer and volleyball is probably going to get moved to the spring as well. You know, now you're going to have an issue with, you know, space, you know, availability of the turf and grass fields and those sorts of things. Because those teams are allowed to do some preseason conditioning workouts. So we understand that, and we understand some kids are going to opt out of football. And, you know, you just want to make sure that you support the kids any way possible and not make it just about football. You know, if it was the fall, different circumstances, but now we're in the spring. So, you know, as coaches, we have to make sure that we're open-minded and compassionate and make sure we support the kids whatever decisions they make. And, you know, as far as the kids going to college, the mid-year early enrollee kids, you know, I've already publicly expressed my feelings that I think any kid that signs that signs their scholarship in December, I think we're on track to have 3 or 4 kids to do that. My suggestion for those kids is to opt out of the senior season on the gridiron and start your collegiate career. You know, that's the advice that I would give them. That's the advice that I would want someone to give me. I would want someone to give my own son that advice. So we just have to make sure that we are, you know, we're open-minded and compassionate for our kids.
Coach Bellamy, we appreciate having you so much here on the Oakland County MegaCast.